Corrections Canada will begin a needle exchange program for inmates who use contraband drugs in prison. The first phase begins in June at 2 federal institutions. Evan Dyer is following the story from Ottawa. So, Evan, why is this happening now?
Well, actually, there's been a lawsuit pushing the federal government to do this since 2012, brought by 4 HIV prevention organizations. But it does appear that Corrections Canada, having initially resisted that, and of course it's always had officially a drug-free policy in its prisons, is now going to take at least a small step in the direction of harm reduction, the same policy that we see generally winning adherence outside of prisons. But it is going to start with a small step. Now, drug use, intravenous drug use specifically in Canadian prisons, has long been a problem, and in spite of all efforts to prevent the smuggling of opioids into prisons, they continue to flow in, and prisoners are often able to smuggle equipment too, like syringes and needles, or if not, they make the syringe sometimes out of items like a ballpoint pen. The needle is the one thing that has to be smuggled. It can't be faked, and because it is hard to smuggle them into prison, they often get reused again and again, and Corrections Canada has done surveys where they found prisoners have said needles are getting reused up to dozens of times. So that has led to HIV rates that are 200 times those of the general population inside prisons. And inside prisons, you see hepatitis C rates 260 times higher than the general population. And that's why we see this pilot project, but it's only going forward, as you say, at 2 institutions, the Atlantic Institution in New Brunswick, which is a men's prison, and the Grand Valley Institution in Kitchener, Ontario, which is a women's prison. And one small criticism coming from those HIV groups is that they say it doesn't go far enough in the sense that it doesn't give needles to start the ball rolling. A prisoner has to exchange an existing needle in order to get a new one. But prison guards are looking at it in quite a different light.
Yeah, let's talk about that. I mean, the admission there, obviously, that despite the official drug-free policy, those drugs are getting in, some needles are getting in. What do prison guards have to say about these pilot projects?
Well, the prison guards, speaking through their union, say that they're not ready to say goodbye to the attempt to have a drug-free prison environment. They would like to see more efforts to crack down on smuggling, and they also say that this poses a threat to them and it creates confusion about the rules. The threat, of course, is that needles can be a weapon, and even when they're not deliberately used as a weapon, needles that are discarded can be a very serious hazard because those rates of infection of hepatitis C and HIV in prisons are so high. These needles do pose a real threat to prison guards. They also say it leaves them in a sort of a confused area of the law. For right now, if a prison guard sees a prisoner about to inject drugs, they're supposed to enter the cell and prevent them. But if that prisoner has just been given the needle by the prison and then goes to his cell to do that, what is the guard supposed to do? They say that this creates a sort of a gray area of confusion, and they would like to see the government instead focus on more treatment for addicts in prison to help them actually get clean.